that was based off kind of what you had said one time on this show. At what point with these guys is it too late for them when they show up to camp? Like, is there a too late to show up to camp to where, like, let's say, this kind of song and dance goes until like the second week of March, arbitrary dates I'm gonna throw out there, and then that's when the Giants sign Matt Chapman. Is that like, you're almost a month into camp at that point? How far behind the eight ball are guys going to be in that situation if they're coming into camp that late? I remember, Bryce Harper, when he signed with the Phillies, I think he signed right at the beginning of March as well. So, I mean, there is kind of precedent for it taking that long. Is that a thing, or am I making too much out of nothing there?
Well, it could be a thing. It's a player-by-player basis on how you get ready for a season. The one thing I would say that sucks about that, Sam, is what if you're like a AAA kid and you're balling out and you're having the best camp ever, and the media's coming up to you, and it's just like your manager talks about you every day in the press conference. You're hitting 450. You've hit 4 home runs in the first 8 games. It looks like there's a need for you, and you're about to make the team, and you're thinking about making the team, and your family's calling you, and here's my big opportunity because I'm leading the Cactus League in hitting, and all of a sudden they sign this guy. And now whatever you did, well, maybe you open some eyes, and there's a face with the name, but whatever you did it doesn't matter because this guy's got your job, the free agent, and now you're going back to Sacramento or whatever it is.
And obviously the guy who'd probably be, again, if we're focusing on Matt Chapman here, the guy who that means the most for right now is J.D. Davis when it comes to the Giants. Right now, he's probably slated to be the Giants' opening day third baseman. Obviously, maybe depends on kind of what goes on with Wilmer Flores, too, if they decide to play him at third base as well. But right now, J.D. Davis is probably your third base, third base one. I mean, if we did like quarterback one. He is your starting third baseman right now. And honestly, if that is the case going into the year, I have a lot of friends who text me, keep making more signings. I need to bring someone in, bring in Matt Chapman. Honestly, I'm totally content with going into the season with J.D. Davis as the Giants' primary third baseman. There's a lot that I liked what he did at the plate last year. I know he had an ankle injury. I think it was in mid-June that kind of derailed his season. And he had moments where you saw that swing and how good it was. And I saw enough. The defensive metrics didn't like him a ton last year. Again, maybe the ankle injury was a part of that. But I've seen enough for J.D. Davis on defense to where, the work he puts in before the games and the work he does in the games, I'm totally content with his glove at third base. He was a borderline all-star candidate in the first half last year, FP. And I'm bullish on J.D. Davis, not just because he's come on Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys, but because I like what I see from the guy. He's got a good swing. He's a solid baseball player who can handle that hot corner.
Yeah, he played a little more than he ever played before last year, and he ran out of gas down the stretch. I think a couple guys ran out of gas down the stretch. So maybe he knew how to prepare himself a little bit differently this year. Not better, not worse, but differently based on the amount of time he got last year. But I don't think you give up on Casey Schmidt at third base either. No. Like, if that's your future, that guy's going to play at third more for me than J.D. Davis. Maybe J.D. initially, and Casey might play some shortstop based on what happens with Luciano too. But I'm not giving up on the kid at third base. I think Casey Schmidt's a Gold Glove defender. He's going to win a number of Gold Gloves if he can command the strike zone a little bit better and just maybe take a Xanax before a game every now and then and just relax at home plate when he's hitting. He might command the strike zone a little bit better. But I'm a big Casey Schmidt fan. I think he's going to be a good major leaguer. Very
nice guy. Another alumni of Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. He was a fun one to chat with when I had him on the pod, especially at the end. If you go back and listen to this pod, it was back in like July or something, or June. It was right after he got called up. And we're doing it. He says I got about 10, 15 minutes for you. So we're doing the interview on the side next to the dugout. And then out of nowhere, 10 minutes in, and I'm trying to wrap it up. He's like, oh, wait, I got to go. And then he just takes off in the middle of a question I'm asking him. And it's like, all right, it's Casey Schmidt, everybody. Garlic Fries Baseball Guys.
Did you piss him off?
No, I think he had to get to a hitter's meeting. And he's a rookie and he can't be late. And so I just thought it was kind of funny how just we're having a good conversation. Oh, I got to go be a baseball player. Bye. And he just kind of took off. He's a very fun, loose guy. We've chatted a lot in the clubhouse. Not a lot, but a few times in the clubhouse last year. Found him very enjoyable to talk with. Thank you very much. I agree with you. I like Casey Schmidt a lot. Like you can bring. For me, it's obvious with him. It's the bat. The nickname I saw for him last year was Chasey Schmidt because he's always going low and away on those pitches there. Love to see, which is tough because his sweet spot in the zone is that low corner, that low outside corner. But pitchers figured out that if you go a little bit outside that low outside zone, you can get them to chase there. And it's all she wrote there. So get the bat to be a little bit more consistent. The defense is there. I've always said with Casey Schmidt, if you could give me a career arc similar to Brandon Crawford, that's great. I'll take that all day long. Brandon Crawford was never known for his bat when he came up. He was a very soft-hitting shortstop, but he had a glove that was good enough to keep him in the lineup every day. And that's what I see with Casey Schmidt. That glove is good enough to keep him on the big league roster and keep him in the lineup. And then it's just a matter of how you bring the bat around with him. And that, I think, that's going to be the big thing that you obviously need to keep your eye on with him going into this spring training and this season.
I like the staff. I like the fact that you have depth in your starting rotation. I like the fact that Bob Melvin and Farhan are going to disagree on things, and it's not going to be just one way, and we're going to do it this way. There's going to be pushback, and they've talked about that publicly, and it's going to be healthy give and take. So when you're talking about when Robbie Ray gets healthy, and Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison and Alex Cobb and maybe a Tristan Beck in there, Logan Webb, obviously. And I mean, that's a decent starting rotation. And you win with pitching and defense. That's how you win around here. My biggest concerns going into the season aren't the bullpen, aren't the starting rotation, are Patrick Bailey, and to see if he can repeat what he did last year. Was he a flash in the pan? Is he a legitimate all-star candidate type catcher? Is he up there with a JT Realmuto? He put on 25 pounds. 25 pounds is 25 pounds. Whether it's muscle, whether it's fat, I don't know. But 25 pounds is a lot more to carry. You don't put on 25 pounds because you want to be more durable in a season. That's a lot of weight on your joints, regardless of his muscle or whatever. That concerns me because his mobility and his agility behind the plate, his ability to block pitches, his speed and quickness on release and snap throws behind, all of that, his flexibility to me and his athletic ability behind the plate were the things that were most impressive. If you put on 25 pounds in any sport, your athletic ability is going to be compromised. It is. So does he deflate in spring training? Does he lose 10 pounds? Is he right at his perfect weight when opening day comes? I don't know. It's a big concern for me. It's a big, big concern for me. The other concern is the shortstop position. It's the anchor of the infield. You're the captain. We were so used to the greatest shortstop in Giants history in Brandon Crawford. He's not there anymore. So when you're asking a kid in Luciano that was born in 2001 to be your shortstop, or if you're asking a kid in Casey Schmidt who's born 1999 to be your shortstop, that's the position for me. That's the most important position defensively on the diamond besides catcher. So these two positions are my biggest concerns going into the season. I know there's other options at catcher. Tom Murphy, Blake Sable can play. I don't know what they're going to do with Joey Bart. But those are the storylines that when I go to Scottsdale, I'm going to lock in on. The shortstop position, the catcher position.
Yeah, let's maybe start the catching position there because, when Bailey got to the big leagues last year, one thing I remember is he was doing a lot of things that you just didn't really see him doing at the minor league level, especially I think it was his hitting from the right side. I think he was not that great hitting from the right side in the minor leagues. Then he gets up to the big leagues and he's hitting great from the right side. I don't think that's something that you see happen very often where I don't know. I mean, how often do you see a guy kind of get to the big leagues and he's doing something that he's never done in the minor leagues before in the way Bailey was? Is there ever a situation where a guy just kind of gets up and he was asked about this a lot and his response always just kind of like a form of like, just putting in the work, figuring out something, just kind of clicking, stuff like that. But when something like that happens where, he never had that success hitting from the right side, then he gets up to the big leagues and he does. Is that something where you're like, do you look at that as like a flash in the pan type deal? Or do you look at that as maybe you do have more hitting chops from that side of the plate? Let's see how we can keep developing that.
Well, there's a lot of ways I could go with that. As a former switch hitter, you get streaky on each sides of the plate. You have multiple personalities. You got your left-handed personality, your right-handed personality. And sometimes if you're facing a lot of righties, your left-handed swing is locked in and you don't see many lefties, your right-handed swing suffers. And it gets into, if you're left-handed in the minor leagues and you can pitch, you're in the big leagues. So he probably didn't have as many right-handed at-bats because the good left-handers are in the major leagues.
That makes sense. Okay.
If you have a pulse and you throw strikes as a lefty, you're on the fast track to the big leagues.
Okay.
So his right-handed swing was probably neglected a little bit at the minor league level. I always thought, And I'm living proof of it sitting across from you that it was easier to play in the big leagues. I was a better big leaguer than I was a minor leaguer.
Really? How so?
The conditions are better. The backdrops are better. The equipment is better. Your bats are better. You have everything at your fingertips to be successful. The cages, the food, the travel. Pitchers are around the plate more. It's not like it's a grenade launcher or a snowball fight where a guy's throwing one over your head, a guy's throwing one at you, and then he paints the black. In the big leagues, guys are around the plate. The strike zone is smaller in the big leagues than it is the minor leagues, or it was back in the day. So I would take a pitch and be like, oh, I'm 0-1, and the umpire would say ball, and I went, whoa, that was a ball? That was such a strike for 7 years in the minor leagues. So based on the lighting, the background, the I guess everything at my fingertips that I needed to be successful, the weight room, the cages, the coaches, way more coaches, the trainers, the treatment that you get on injuries, everything to me, the stadiums, the playing surface, the infield that I had to field ground balls on, it was way easier to play in the big leagues than the minor leagues. So when I got to the big leagues and had a great rookie season, people were asking me like, wow, he didn't hit like this in the minor leagues. I could go up there and be aggressive because I knew the guys were going to throw strikes. I could see the rotation and the seams on the baseball because it wasn't a small fence in center field with trees that were dead from the winter that hadn't bloomed their leaves yet early in the spring, and I couldn't pick up the baseball. The batting eyes are like 27 garage doors that are painted black, and the ball's coming out of that. And the lighting is the best lighting in the world. The conditions are the best conditions in the world. Games got canceled if it's sprinkled. You didn't have to play in a muddy field. Like, everything about the major leagues is better than the minor leagues, and it's conducive to success if mentally you can handle it. If mentally you can wrap your head around that, you know, you're playing on a big stage and bright lights and there's cameras in every camera. Well, you're on TV every night. You're playing in front of 50,000 people. You're playing against the best players on the planet. You're playing for a chance to set up generations of your family. You're playing for a chance to change your life. If you can get through all the mental hurdles that there is, like maybe playing Sunday in a major on the PGA Tour, if you can get through that and keep your blinders on and stay focused and realize it's the same game you played your whole life and be successful up there, nothing that Patrick Bailey did that was better than the minor league shocked me because I was a way better player at the major league level than I was at the minor league level.
Interesting. That's honestly never something I even considered there, because my thought would be, you know, once you get to the big leagues, you have, you know, you're going against better talent. You know, the pitching you're going to see at the big league level is obviously going to be better than the pitching you're seeing at the minor league level. But no, that takes it a whole different direction, and I kind of like that. And I like it because it kind of tracks with what we saw from Bailey last year. And you talk about the mental aspect of it. One thing I really do like about Patrick Bailey is he really does kind of have the kind of reserve mentality that I like to see in a young baseball player. He really does. He seems to have his head on straight, knows what he needs to do to put the work in, get better. He's got all the resources to do it.
Dude, 25 pounds is
I know, but then it come back that 25 pounds.
And he said 25 pounds.
Yeah,
he said 25,
which means I know
it's Susan Slusser.
Yeah, so like when guys report the weight they've put on, are they more likely to, you know, embellish the weight? You know, like I put on 25 pounds when he put on 20, or is it going to be a lower number? You know, I put on 25 pounds when really the number's closer to 30 or 35.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I got to be boots on the ground, dude. Yeah. I'm going down there in a couple of weeks. I'll report to you guys. I'll do live updates from Scottsdale.
No, we'll definitely have.
If you guys care.
Yeah, no, 95.7 The Game Giants insider FP Santangelo join the Morning Roast. We'll definitely be saying that at some point in the future. You said the other thing that you're kind of keeping your eyes on. I'm kind of curious with Giants fans here is spring training's kicking off here. What do you have your eye on right now? 888-957-9570. What do you have your eye on right now regarding the Giants here in the first week of full squad spring workouts? Is it, you know, the rather larger Patrick Bailey? Is it the situation at shortstop? That's what FP has his eye on. Me personally, I'm going to have my eye on the pitching rotation. FP, you said you really like the pitching rotation a lot. I'm a little up in the air with it right now. You know, maybe do you have your eye on the free agent market? Are you going to be waiting for the Giants to sign one of those Boris 4? If so, which of those 4 would you want? So definitely, Giants fans, want to hear from you. This is your time. Chime in, 888-957-9570. What do you have your eye on? You know, I said the pitching FP. I want to talk about the shortstop position really quick. I'm very excited to see Marco Luciano this year. When Bonte and I went to Farhan's end of the year presser last year after he had fired Gabe Kapler, it was 35 very brutal minutes that Farhan had to go through facing the volley of questions that we threw at him. The one question that he did ask that was not about, the team's direction or the managing situation or anything like that, was about Luciano. And he said that we are going into next season with Luciano as our opening day shortstop. That is the expectation. I thought that was, it caught my attention right away, because moving off of Brandon Crawford right on to Marco Luciano, I like seeing that. It's that next era. It felt like that official next era of Giants baseball is finally getting underway now that they're committing to Marco Luciano. But then again, we were talking about
committed to David VR last year in spring training.
Well, I mean, you're now you at one point earlier in the show, you kind of expressed some skepticisms on Luciano. What has you skeptical about Marco Luciano, or are you skeptical about Marco Luciano? If I'm putting words in your mouth,
I haven't seen enough of him to have 100% take. The little I've seen, I'm not sure he's a defensive major league shortstop.
Yeah,
and I think he's got pop. I think he plays the game the right way, but I have to see more of him. I'm not sure he's the answer at shortstop as we speak. I think he could prove me wrong, but we'll see. I think Casey Schmidt might be your shortstop, maybe more than Luciano. But like I said, I would feel more comfortable if they had like a veteran kind of safety net there, just in case.
I know. I've seen them
like a Marco Scudero, for example.
Yeah, I've seen Willie Adames' name popped up on trade rumors.
I love Willie Adames. He's supposed to be a great teammate, great clubhouse guy. Everybody loves that dude. Yeah. He's an energy guy. He's a spark guy. This team needs a guy like Willie Adames.
But would that be a thing? It's like, my only thing is if you bring in a Willie Adames, does that kind of create a situation where Luciano might be losing at bats that he should be getting to a more veteran presence? Like, I've seen, a Brandon Crawford reunion tossed around in some places, but the rebuttal to that is that would not be fair to Marco Luciano, to where if he's trying to establish himself as an everyday shortstop at the big league level, to have the fan favorite breathing down your neck the entire time. Like,
it wasn't fair to Drew Bledsoe to be benched for Tom Brady either.
Sports are not fair. That is true.
It's not fair.
I was a big fan of the Dems the breaks take. We get away from that too often.
Dude, if you guys missed it and it's still on my brain, when you watch a show and it's still on your brain the whole next day, like this, the Dynasty, it's on Apple TV that chronicles the Patriots. I mean, it's sit down.
You're selling it to me.
It's sit down one-on-ones with Brady and Belichick.
I really wish I had Apple TV.
And they're talking about how this whole thing developed. Just go on and get the free trial, and then don't forget to cancel it. That's what I do on things, but I forget to cancel it.
Yeah, see, I don't. See, my thing is if I go on, I do the free trial, and then I get through it. I mean, I've done free trials before. I once binge watched the entirety Game of Thrones from episode 1 to the final episode, all in 1 week off a free trial of HBO Go. During the pandemic, one of my more, proud of pandemic binge performances. So I've done that before, and I literally finished the show right before the trial was up, with like hours to go. So that was...
So do it then.
I've done it before. But then if there's like another show that comes out later on...
The other recommendation I'll give you is watch Saltburn.
There's too many movies and shows.
You got to watch Saltburn. You have to watch Saltburn. It's one of the better movies I've seen in a long time.
What I do is the uber millennial thing, which is you find friends who have certain streaming services, then you have your streaming, then you start password swapping. Yeah. Like I always, when I got Disney Plus, I was like, that's like real currency right there. When you got that Disney Plus password to trade with people. So maybe that's just what I got to do. I just got to get on a friend's Apple TV plan and start watching these there.
Do you watch cartoons on Disney Plus? What do you have Disney Plus for?
Oh, I mean, I got all the Marvel stuff, all the cartoon stuff. I mean, I love the Disney movies too. Yeah. I really got into the one I probably watched the most is the animated Spider-Man series on Disney Plus. I loved that show as a kid. That was like one of my favorite. That and the Batman animated series. Those are like two of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid. And I watch all the Disney classics.
All right.
I grew up on Disney.
You're young enough.
Oh yeah, no, I love Disney. All the animated ones, all the new ones. It's Disney's great. It's magical. It's why we get into it. And of course, the Marvel shows, all the Phase 4 stuff, and how disappointing all those. Do you get into the Marvel movies at all?
No, but I have a friend who's on one of the shows. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which
there's an NDA that
okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, can we do a water drop? There's an NDA.
Yeah, there's an NDA.
We've never run it. This is an unprecedented situation here.
I swore on the NDA that I wouldn't say anything.
All right. Well, then let's move off this right now. Instead, I would rather hear from Anthony in Daly City, who wants to chip in on who the Giants should add here in spring training. Anthony in Daly City, what do you got?
What's up, guys? Morning. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I feel like this whole Boras situation, I mean, no one has blinked yet. But to be honest with you, if we were about to drop on Correa almost $300 million, I think we should drop maybe not $200 million on Cody, but like $190, $180 on Cody, because he can play almost every position, first base, center field, any field out there. And I think Matt Chapman would be okay, but we'd rather have a younger guy on our team, and he's almost about to be in his 30s, but we still have maybe 2 years left with him to be actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good point there, Anthony. I guess if you had to pick one of those final four, Snell, Montgomery, Chapman, Bellinger, I'm gonna put you in the GM chair, FP. You gotta close the deal with one of those four. Who are you trying to go after there?
I like Bellinger, man. I've always liked Cody. I like the way he plays. I think he's very versatile defensively. He can play all three outfields. He can play first base. Plays a really good first base too.
Yeah,
and not like he just stands there. And I always said that the Giants have the Giants have complained about their defense the last couple of years, but they're putting guys in positions that they never play. So you can't ask a guy to go over and play first once a month, and then he makes an error and to get mad about your defense. Like there's playing a position, there's standing at a position. Over the last couple of years, I feel like the Giants have had guys standing at positions and not playing them or being comfortable playing that position. If you want to be better at defense, you sign guys that play a position, you leave them at that position, and you watch them flourish at that position. But if you're constantly sacrificing defense for offense and you're manipulating the lineup to have the best matchups offensively on a given night, then you can't sit there and say, we have to get better defensively. As a former utility player, I know how much hard work it takes to play all these different positions. I know how much ability it takes to play all these positions. I also know that you have to have the right mindset to be open to playing these different positions and be okay with being a sixth man and coming off the bench, or being okay with being a utility player when you used to be an everyday player at one position. So there's so much that goes into this. And I would love to see Cody. Cody Bellinger seems like he has changed. And I don't know what the change was. I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah, I guess that's the other.
I don't know what the change was. If you Google him and you go on the internet, there's a lot of talk about things that I don't know if they're true or not. But it seems like he's a lot more, I guess, for lack of a better term, focused than he used to be.
Yeah, I guess that's the other question: is how much do you kind of believe that the bounce back season that he had in Chicago last year was legitimate? And my biggest fear with Bellinger is, I still want to see him signed, and he gets that big contract, he gets that big money, and it's just all right, I got my payday. He'll be good for a year, maybe two, and then it's the last few years of that contract where we're agonizing over it. I do like Bellinger a lot, though, because, it's the defense was always there for him. Even when he was struggling at the plate, he was still a plus defender, and the Giants could absolutely use plus defenders. I think his presence in the lineup would be huge because you would have an outfield of, basically it would allow you to put Yastrzemski and Austin Slater on the bench and have them be your number 4, number 5 outfielders, which is, I think, what they're both better suited for. I know the Giants, they keep trying to hammer this platoon of Austin Slater and Mike Yastrzemski, and on paper, they do add together as a good baseball player when you mix them together. Slater, he's the lefty masher. Yaz, he does really good against righties. The problem is, though, baseball is really good at taking your best laid plans and chewing them up into a pulp and spitting them out and laughing at you as a result. One of those guys gets banged up, and now you're putting Yastrzemski in against lefties too much, or Slater's getting too much run against righties. Guy like Cody Bellinger, though, who could both kind of blast through those splits like that, it takes away all the complications of it.
You talk about
just make it simple.
You talk about platoons and splits, and I just get triggered.
Exactly. So get a guy like Cody Bellinger, and you don't have to get triggered anymore because Yaz and Slater, they could be the guys off the bench that they are better suited to be. You're saying out of those final four, for me, I would like to see them go after Jordan Montgomery of those final four, only because I would like to see a little bit more depth in the pitching staff. You're not going to get Robbie Ray back until the second half. You're not going to get Alex Cobb back till the first month, and he's going to need a ramp-up time. Jordan Hicks they want him to start. He's only made it 5 innings once in his career, FP, and that was last year against the Giants. There's question marks in that rotation. That's before you get to the younger guys, the Wisenhunts, the Tristan Beck, Kyle Harrison, Hayden Burnsong and Mason Black. I like both of those guys. I like Mason Black a lot. I think he's got some good accuracy that could serve well at the big league level, but I think they're both still a ways away. I need more guys who I can depend on in this rotation, because if you can get through the first half of the season and stay roughly within playoff contention or 5 games of a playoff spot, if guys come back and everyone's healthy, if you have a rotation of Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Alex Cobb, and Jordan Montgomery, and then, we'll see what's going on with Harrison or Wisenhunt or Beck. Well, along with this bullpen you have, if you move Jordan Hicks into the back of that bullpen, you have a scary good pitching staff that can carry you through the entire second half of the season. If you're feeling hot going into the playoffs, we've seen the Phillies and the Diamondbacks the last 2 years as the 6th seed. They get hot in September and then they end up rolling deep into October. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts that need to go right here before we hit Fast 5. But if all those things hit for the Giants, it could be a very, very entertaining second half.
Dude, I love your optimism. Let's go.
Yeah.
Giddy up. The one thing I would say, not to be a pessimist, is they're in the best division in baseball.
Yeah.
With 3 really good teams besides them.
It really is. I know. And unfortunately, half of the strategy I feel this year is just hoping that half the people in the Dodgers just forget how you play baseball and then they just tank, but that's not going to happen.